7 p.m. according to my satellite-connected computer. I will call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Council members Brown,
Here.
Hazen, Hersey,
Here.
Jacobson,
Here.
Miller,
Here?
Roberts,
Here.
Wu.
Here.
And I will now ask for a motion or discussion regarding the approval of minutes of the previous meeting.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay, is there any discussion, corrections?
One.
Yes.
Number 5, public input. The first line, Reverend Dr. Evelyn Underwood did not wish to speak, but asked that his position be entered.
Aha!
So we don't want it to be his, we want it to be her.
Without further discussion, we ought to just accept that correction. And otherwise, with that correction, are the minutes approved? Please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody's opposed to that. Are there any additions to the agenda? Okay, presentations, and I believe the mayor has a proclamation.
Yes, I do, and I was supposed to have read this last week, and I want to apologize for the 2 people from the Home and Aid Society, the Children's Home and Aid, who did come last week to hear this proclamation, and my assistant was out of town, and she didn't remind me. So anyway, I'd like to read this proclamation tonight. And whereas, since 1883, Children's Home and Aid has been serving families in Illinois and is committed to serving children and families who have been impacted by violence in our community. And whereas, Children's Home and Aid is a leading child and family service agency in Illinois where they help children and families recover their health, their hope, and their faith in the people around them. And whereas, as a leading social service agency, Children's Home and Aid serves nearly 40,000 children and families in need each year and delivers over 70 social service programs in more than 60 Illinois counties. Whereas all children, youth, and families thrive in strong communities, and whereas the City of Urbana humbly remembers those victims of domestic violence, supports the survivors, and recognizes the many staff and community individuals who ensure that these services can continue for all. Now, therefore, I, Diane Wolf Marlin, Mayor of the City of Urbana, do hereby proclaim October 2019 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the City of Urbana, Illinois. And we will make sure that they get this proclamation. Thank you.
Okay. I don't think we have any other presentations queued up, so we move to public input. I have just one card from Reverend Dr. Evelyn B. Underwood, and she doesn't wish to address council, but wishes to say that they are continually concerned about the Dr. Ellis subdivision sewer problems. Any other public input? Okay, moving on. Staff report? Yes, Ms. Mitten.
I just wanted to bring to your attention that at the next Committee of the Whole meeting on October 28th, we plan to bring forward an ordinance that would amend the section of the code that requires people in certain parts of downtown and in the campus area to clear their sidewalks of snow as recommended by BPAC. And the reason I want to highlight that tonight is because in working through that on the staff level, we determined that rather than, to the extent that people don't comply with that ordinance, that we are no longer going to clear those sidewalks in-house. We're going to contract that work out. And we think that's a good opportunity for someone who may have a small business or who may be interested in starting a small business. And so I just want to put that out for the public's information. I also reached out to the township supervisor so that if she knows people that are in a position to participate in responding to that solicitation, we'll be putting something out on social media with a contact person. So anyone who's interested can, for purposes tonight, they can certainly send an email to me, which would be cjmitten@urbanaillinois.us, but there'll be another contact person. We'll make sure that they get the notice of the solicitation, because we'd really like to get response from local small business people.
Sounds like a winner all the way around.
We
Great.
think so. So, and that all started because BPAC had an idea, and we're just trying to make
Okay.
the most of it. So, thank you.
Okay. Yes,
Couple
Mayor.
more announcements. And thanks to Chair Bill Brown of BPAC for bringing that forward. I just wanted to let people know that the draft liquor code, which is a rewrite of the liquor code, is finished, and we're going to be mailing it out tomorrow to all the current liquor license holders for their feedback. I'll also send a copy to the council for your feedback. And we've scheduled 2 meetings to be held on October 29th and October 30th. People can pick one or the other to come, and we'll give an overview of the changes and be available to answer questions. So it's gone around for internal review at this point, and we're ready to get feedback from the community. And then the other thing, just a heads up, the zoning text amendment for adult use cannabis will, which was coming out of the Plan Commission, will come to council next week on the 21st.
Okay. And no other staff who wish to report. In this case, the next item on business is resolution number 2019-10-041R, resolution accepting a Midwest Grows Green grant from the IPM Institute of North America, Public Works, and I believe that's Mr. Tess.
Good evening. This is a resolution to accept some grant funding to purchase a compost top dresser. So will be an asset owned by the Arbor Division, and they will use it to buy Landscape Recycling Center compost and top dress our turf grasses that the city owns as an alternative to buying synthetic chemicals, synthetic pesticides, and fertilizers. And so this is part of a larger effort called Midwest Grows Green that the city participates in. It's a project of the Integrated Pest Management Institute, and the city has committed to managing the south lawn of the city building chemical-free. And so this is an extension of that effort. So we're going to be doing the 3 main practices for chemical-free natural lawn care. 1, mow high, 3 inches or higher. 2, core aerate twice a year. And 3, top dress with natural compost from the Landscape Recycling Center. I'll take any questions you have.
Yes, Jared.
Just one, I saw that in this memo. I meant to send you an email, Scott. Now that I got you here, what is the effective rate of substitution for doing this? Are there models that have shown this to be as effective as synthetics or otherwise?
Yeah, that's part of the story that the Midwest Grows Green crew tells. They're doing some public engagement. They have a bunch of cities that they work with. They'll be here for a couple of days this week, Thursday and Saturday, doing 3 events. And they're working with even golf courses who have eliminated all synthetic fertilizers and pesticides using these practices. I'll mention the Urbana Park District is also a partner in our local Midwest Grows Green effort. They have an organic vegetable garden, and they're actually going to be borrowing our compost spreader for one of the baseball fields, where they're going to be testing out this suite of practices to see how far they can go reducing or eliminating their fertilizers and pesticides.
How often does a top dress happen?
So the best practice is spring and fall core aerate, and then follow that with top dressing of fertilizer.
Okay. Yes, Dennis.
How large is the spreader? Does it work similar to like a grass seed spreader? It shoots the compost out in kind of like a half circle or something like that in front of
Yep.
you?
Very similar. This is a motorized piece of equipment, so we can do a little bit larger spaces. It's kind of like a self-propelled lawnmower. And yeah, it's sized. It's actually too small. If the park district were able to expand, it would be too small for their fields. They would want to get something bigger. But for the size of landscapes that the city owns and manages, it's just the right size. Little squares and strips is basically what we have.
Right, right. Well, I would be encouraged to hear the Park District, since they have a lot of land and a lot of grass that they have in those parks, it'd be exciting to hear them to come along and maybe use this this test situation. I hope that the baseball diamond looks pretty good next year.
Yeah, the Park District practices integrated pest management, and most of the spaces that are not ball fields, they use very little, if any, synthetic chemicals. The ball fields are more heavily used and have a higher expectation, so that's where this intervention is going to be more powerful. But if you want to see the spreader, we're going to have a Champaign County Sustainability Network Lunch and Learn here Thursday. We're going to start in this room with a little talk from the IPM folks, and then we're going to go outside and demo the top dresser, so everyone's welcome. So it'll be noon on Thursday, right here.
Well, they have Park District has a lot of soccer fields too, which probably could benefit from that maybe.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, thanks.
Sharice.
So how long is the Park District going to be using this? Will they be using this while we're using it as well?
Yeah, so the Integrated Pest Management Institute's Midwest Grows Green program has funded some soil testing before we start these practices, so a few months ago, and then after next late spring or summer. So both our South Lawn and Canada Field, the baseball field that the Park District owns, will do a core aeration and then a top dressing this fall and again in spring. Then we'll
What's
do
a core aeration?
It's a device that basically takes little cores, a bit of soil out of the turf, and it sort of throws it up on the turf. This is basically loosening up the soil, because when we tromp around on it, it gets compacted, and water and nutrients have trouble getting in.
Okay.
So we're going to do these two treatments, spring and fall, and then the IPM will be doing soil testing again, and we'll see the changes, but also we will visually be able to see the quality and desirability of the turf.
Okay. And the city is going to be responsible for the balance of the $2,500?
Correct. That's coming out of the Arbor Division budget.
Okay. So I guess my next question is, I know this says it's Urbana Park District and the city of Urbana are partnering. So I guess my next question is, are they partnering on the balance?
No, because we're going to own the asset. If the Park District decides, yeah, we really like this top dressing of compost, they're going to go out and buy a bigger machine, most likely. We're really loaning it to them for a couple of uses. It's not a piece of equipment that we use every day. We're going to use it on a few locations in the spring and in the fall. Yeah, so it's not a heavy lift for us to loan it, and also there's something in it for us in terms of the LRC, the Landscape Recycling Center. The city expands this into more turf areas. If the Park District expands this practice into more turf areas, it's more product sales for the Landscape Recycling Center.
Okie doke.
Bill.
Have you had any conversations with the school district to see if they'd be interested in trying it out?
We've invited them to the 3 events this week. So I'm hoping that some folks from facilities there and other institutions that own property and landscapes around town have been invited. So we're hoping that they'll come and we can, build this this network of Midwest Grows Green locally.
Okay. Is this an action item?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Mary
That's
Alice.
okay. I'd like to move forward the resolution number 2019-10041R, resolution accepting a Midwest Grows Green grant from the IPM Institute of North America Incorporated, with the recommendation for approval to City Council.
I'll second that.
Okay, moved and seconded. Further comments or discussion? Yes.
I just have one editorial change. In this third whereas, where it says the IPM Institute, there isn't any place in the resolution where it actually says integrated pest management, so I think we should replace the IPM there with integrated pest management, so people in future years will know what IPM means.
Do the author and mover of the motion take this as a friendly amendment?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, and do we need a roll call vote on this?
On a
or
committee.
Will a voice vote suffice? Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, nobody's opposed to that. So let's try something else. The next item is an ordinance amending Schedule H of Section 2393 of the Urbana Local Traffic Code, requiring stop signs at a certain intersection, Cypress Point at Stillwater Landing, and it's Mr. Schunkweiler, in possibly his last appearance before this body.
That is correct.
Oh, my
Where are you
goodness.
going?
Pardon me?
I said, where are you going?
I'm going to Bloomington, Indiana, to be their city engineer.
No.
Yes,
Uh-uh.
yes.
Now, when somebody leaves us for someplace else, I believe it's a tradition to haze them during the...
Apparently, it's happening
think-
now.
Yeah, it's
No.
happening now, and I've had enough of that through the years, too.
No,
I'll
we just
certainly-
want to wish him the best and thank him for his 14 years of service to the
Yes,
city of Urbana. And officially, he's going to be the transportation and traffic / city engineer for the city of Bloomington, Indiana.
Okay, I stand subdued and ready to listen.
Okay. So the ordinance before you tonight is for a installation of a stop sign on northbound Cypress Point at Stillwater Landing. This, the Urbana Traffic Commission considered this item at their October 19th meeting and suggested to move this item to the Committee of the Whole for consideration. This location is within the Water's Edge subdivision. It's a three-way three-way intersection location that doesn't have any traffic control. That's not uncommon on a newer type of subdivision. A resident, along with the HOA in that subdivision, came to city staff and with some concerns about safety at that location. Staff did run crash reports. We did not find any crashes. However, though, we do recommend, along with the Traffic Commission, to install a stop sign on northbound Cypress Point. And then I guess that's it. So it's for your consideration.
Okay, any questions? Yes, Bill?
So when subdivisions like this are platted, would it be useful to just automatically have stop signs at every place where there's a minor street intersecting a through street like that?
You know, it's a lot of times it's case by case, but when we do new subdivisions, a lot of times there's so many different intersections, and sometimes it's not clear how traffic will behave. So traffic control isn't always included. So it's a case-by-case basis, really, that we'd want to probably look at that.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, Jared?
I'll make a motion that we send ordinance number 2019-10-056, an ordinance amending Schedule H of Section 23-93 of the Urbana Local Traffic Code, requiring stop signs at certain intersection for Cypress Point at Stillwater Landing, be sent to the full council with a recommendation for approval.
A second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Yes, Bill?
Just in case this is his last appearance at council, I know I'll see him tomorrow night at BPAC, but I just wanted to express my appreciation for all he's done for BPAC, Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Commission, and the Traffic Commission, and just been a transportation expert I think we can always look to understand the big picture. Sometimes, you get kind of tied up in the details and, the warrants in order to put signs here and there, but I think Craig has always had a good idea of how things work across town and how one small change somewhere may affect traffic in other areas, and I think we'll really miss that experience. So best of luck in Bloomington, but that's about all. So thanks.
Thanks a ton, Craig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thank you, and, it's a tough decision to leave. 14 years is a good run at Urbana. You know, as I mentioned to the mayor, I'll always have great affinity for Urbana. I drive around and think about, you know, and ride bike and walk, and there's so many parts of Urbana that I've been involved in. Always care about Urbana. So there'll always be a part of me that I guess still remains here. So, and by the way, the council's been really good to work with too, so.
Well, you're invited to come back and visit occasionally.
Okay.
Yes, sure is.
I just want to say, because I haven't been on the council very long, and you were one of the first people that I met whose name I remembered. And so, and I've always found it kind of fascinating, you know, while working on, since I've been on the council, of your knowledge of just things that I would never think about, like how the cars are going to be slanted, or how you're going to gotta take a tree out of a parking lot, and well, maybe we can put it over for here. You know, these are things that I don't think that as a regular, that most regular citizens that, you know, just John Q. Public, they don't think about the planning that goes into making a transportation work, or making a parking lot put as, you know, pack as many people as possible, and what you have to go through, and the zoning things, and the numbers, and the measuring, and all that kind of stuff. And I just want to say, I'm sorry you're leaving, because you were the first person to name that I remembered.
Was it the Craig or the Schonkweiler?
I think it was the Schonkweiler thing. It's like, I'm not going to forget that name.
Well, I will say something before I call this for a vote, and I believe since it's an ordinance, it does need a vote. Is that true? No, okay, voice. But I'm going to lengthen the meeting by about 18 seconds. And because as I've seen you, Craig, you know, guiding us through this period of figuring out how you balance cars and bicycles and pedestrians and everything else that must navigate our streets. And I'm brought to mind, you know, the care that you do that with. I'm brought to mind back in the 1970s, there was an occasion where I had a conversation with somebody from Public Works who was in traffic, who simply told us very dismissively that the streets were for cars, period. And we have come so far, and you have, you know, done so much to lead us to where we've come. So I'll just chime in as others have and say that we will miss you, but we'll try to get along without you and find somebody almost as good.
Well, and I would say that Mr. Schonkweiler leaves us in good shape. We're on the verge of doing the M-Corps project next year, the Lincoln Avenue improvement, Springfield Avenue improvement, and God willing, the University Avenue improvement, if those bids can be whipped into shape. And Bloomington, Indiana apparently has a rail trail that goes right past their city buildings, so we will be, is it the Beeline? Okay, so we may be making a beeline to Bloomington to see how that was done. And we'll look up a certain city engineer.
Yeah, sure. Welcome you aboard. So you all take care.
Okay.
You too.
Thank you.
Well, with that, do we have a motion on the floor?
Yes.
Yes,
We do. Okay.
And it's
And
Jared
if-
and Sheree.
If, Jared Shreese, if there's no further discussion.
Did you vote?
No, we didn't
We
vote.
haven't
Didn't
voted
vote.
yet.
Yeah, so if there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Nobody's opposed to that. So, having given up on all forms of controversy, I declare this meeting adjourned.